Hello and welcome, I'm Tafara Gadamu. The horticulture sector has now become the second largest foreign exchange earner in this country. And my guest, Tewodros Zewdie of the Ethiopian Horticulture Producer Exporters Association, argues that will actually be leading the export business in the foreseeable future. A very warm welcome to the program, Tewodros.
Thanks for having me.
This is the second largest sector in the export business in this country, correct?
Exactly. So Ethiopia is a late entrant into the supply chain of horticultural products. Is the second top largest forex earner to the country.
After
coffee, yeah. So coffee is well over on 2 million hectares, but the horticulture sector is operating on a few thousand hectares, but it's scoring quite, I would say, glittering achievement, irrespective of the challenge.
And gold is the distant third.
Yeah, gold was the second largest before, but last 2 years, I think the performance is not going well as per our expectation. So that's why the horticulture sector is the second largest.
So when we talk about the horticulture sector, top on the list is the flower business.
Well, the lion's share comes from the floriculture segment of the business, but we have the cutting industry, which is very high-tech. And we have a number of, the largest concentration of cutting farms is also in Ethiopia. And we do have also herbs, which is an emerging crop. And the strawberry is also coming, especially the Holeta cluster from flowers is changed to strawberry production. And the latest one is vegetable seed production also. So we have one company that is engaged in hybrid vegetable production. So these are the latest developments. Avocado is also coming, but the volume is not that much.
It is inching, yeah. So let's talk about cut flowers. Basically, you're talking about the Zewdie area?
Yeah, we have about 8 clusters that are producing cut flowers. Zewdie is the largest. Even the largest rose farm in the world is located in Zewdie. We have the Brazaids, we have Sabbata, Holeta, Bahar Dar cluster as well, and we have some farms that are out of the major clusters.
So we need massive infusion of water, right? That's why you find yourself around these areas.
Well, it's high-tech. Water is required, but the sector is trying to abstract water and to use it in a very responsible manner. Many of the farms are using drip irrigation systems, controlled by computer systems as well. And we are also trying to set up used water treatment plants so as to reduce and reuse and recycle water as well.
So tell me about the variety of flowers.
Well, in Ethiopia, you find cut flowers with numerous varieties. We have carnations, limonium, statice, hypericum. So a wide spectrum of flowers are produced in Ethiopia. As you know, Ethiopia is quite conducive for the production and export of flowers because we have more than 18 agroecological zones that are suitable to produce highland flowers, midland flowers, and lowland flowers as well.
How many producers are involved here? There's big...
We do have about 70 companies that are producing the flowers as we speak now. You know, the industry has grown in the last 20 years. If you look at the trajectory of the development, so it kept on growing. But in the last 5 years, there is not such a big growth due to a number of factors. Otherwise, it's a story of 18 years growth. Okay. Initially, we were having fewer companies. Then a number of investors start to flock to Ethiopia from the Netherlands, from Israel, from India, and as far as Ecuador as well.
Yeah.
Because Ethiopia has both the competitive and comparative advantage for the production and export of flowers.
So most of these flower growers, flower farms are owned by foreign businesses,
Of
right?
course, yeah. The majority are the Dutch growers because historically or also, you know, the Dutch are the leading producers in the supply chain. And if you look at the industry, you know, flower was introduced to Colombia and Ecuador in the 70s, and the Kenyans were in the business in the last 50 years.
Most of these Dutch flower growers have moved from Kenya to Ethiopia.
Some of them,
years ago.
exactly, yeah. Some of them from Kenya, some of them came from the Netherlands as well.
So the ones who moved from Kenya were here because of the incentives that the Ethiopian government provided, right?
A number of factors.
Like...
There are generous investment incentives, including tax holidays that go up to 10 years. And the presence of Ethiopian Airlines is also another added advantage. As we speak now, you know, Ethiopian Airlines, the freight rate is quite competitive in comparison with Kenya. And the destinations are also quite diverse because Ethiopian Airlines is flying to more than 100 destinations. It has more than 11 freighter aircrafts. This is big capacity for the industry. And agroecology is also quite suitable to Ethiopia. And it's better to fly from Ethiopia to Europe market as well. It's very short.
So you basically export flowers to what? To primarily Europe, the Netherlands, and so on?
The Netherlands is the hub for the international floriculture industry. The majority go there because of the auction there and the direct market destination there. But Ethiopian flowers are destined to Far East, including South Korea and Japan. It's going as far as Australia. And if you look at the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to Canada and US as well. So it's going all over the world, including Middle East countries as well. So every day, the export to Middle East is also increasing. Wherever Ethiopian Airlines flies, in the belly of the passenger aircrafts, you will find Ethiopian flowers.
But you are the largest suppliers to the European Union market, right?
Of course. So if you look at the auction in the Netherlands, more than 10% of the supply is coming from or going from Ethiopia as well. So the sector is not only creating employment opportunities in Ethiopia, it's also creating opportunities in the Netherlands as well.
So is that within that 10-month window a year, right?
12 months, yeah.
Is it?
Throughout the year production, yeah.
Is it? I thought it was only 10 months of the year.
12 months. So the production will decrease in our rainy season. Otherwise, it's going throughout the year. That's the beauty of Ethiopia as well.
So in terms of volume, you talking about something like, for example, for the Valentine's Day this year, it's reported that you have exported over 2,100 tons of flowers?
More than that, yeah. So maybe if I tell you every day, nearly 300 tons of flowers is exported from Ethiopia. A minimum of 777 two aircrafts are departing from Addis to Europe. And in the belly of the passenger aircrafts of Ethiopian Airlines and other airlines, you find Ethiopian Airlines. So during Valentine also, that is the peak season of the industry, for the floriculture industry. So a lot is going out of Ethiopia.
So we're talking about a perishable product, right?
Exactly.
Tell me about that course from the farm to the Ethiopian Airlines station here, bound for export. What is that?
Well, perishable products require smart and efficient agro-logistical setup. So you need to have the cold chain facilities at the farm level, and you need to have also cold trucks, and you have to maintain the cold chain as well. Fortunately enough, Ethiopian Airlines has constructed state-of-the-art and the largest, I would say, cold port
At the cargo terminal.
At the cargo terminal. That's with very big capacity. And they have also, as I mentioned earlier, more than 11 777 aircrafts that are equipped with the necessary gadgets to maintain the cold chain. So it's not a matter of choice, rather it's a question of necessity to maintain the cold chain. So the industry is working towards this. Otherwise, the quality is going to be compromised. So you have to take responsibility for the shelf life. So if there is any breakage in the cold chain management, the quality will be compromised as well.
So this is not This is primarily for obviously for flowers, but that also involves fruits and other vegetables which are destined for export. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell me about that fruit component of your horticulture of your sector.
The flower is in a very good shape in terms of the cold chain management, but given the ample opportunities in Ethiopia for fruits and vegetables, there remains a lot to be done with regard to the cold chain infrastructure. You don't find enough cold warehouses in the country, and the smallholder farmers, they don't have cold chain stores. You don't find enough cold trucks in the country as well. So if we count the available cold trucks in the country, given the potential of the country, is a joke, I would say. So I think the government must encourage investments in the cold warehouse, as well as have to tailor special package to import cold trucks as well. So without it, difficult to compete.
So the export in terms of for fruits is from private smallholder farmers or from large-scale farms?
Both, if you look at the avocados, for example, the majority is coming from smallholder farmers. Then it's aggregated. So part of it is exported from the commercial farms as well. If you look at the soft fruits like strawberries, the majority is produced by commercial farmers. So right now, we have more than 15 farms that are producing strawberries. The commercial farms can manage the logistical arrangement, but it's quite difficult for the smallholders to set up efficient and smart agro-logistics system. So that's a gray area.
There has to be some kind of inspection there too, correct?
Of course. So
How do you go about it?
again, it's not a matter of choice. If you want to compete in the global market, you have to fulfill all the phyto and safety requirements. So in Ethiopia, we have the Ethiopian Agricultural Authority, which is mandated to undertake inspection of the export products. So there is a responsibility of the farms to ensure the quality of their produce, but phytosanitary certificate must be issued by the concerned authority, that is the Ethiopian Agricultural Authority. It's a kind of passport for the export products.
How about herbs? Herbs, they are destined to the niche market, right?
Exactly. Now it's an emerging
Recent phenomenon.
recent phenomena in Ethiopia, but it's going quite well. So we have big farms like Joytech that are producing and exporting the herbs. A number of farmers are also looking at opportunities. So basically, we have 3 farms that are producing herbs from Ethiopia, and many more are undertaking feasibility studies as well.
When you say herbs,
Lemongrass, chives, basil, and the like. Yeah. So these are edible crops that are sought in Europe, in Middle East, in the US as well. So the demand is very big as well.
when you say the demand is big, what are you talking about?
Well, Tafar, if you look at the population growth globally, it's increasing. So people have to eat. If you look at the lifestyle change, people are going more into fruit and vegetables as well. And the cost of production is increasing in the rest of the world. Urbanization is coming. For all this, the demand for fresh products is increasing in the rest of the world. And the cost of doing is the most important factor. In this aspect, Ethiopia has both the competitive and comparative advantage if it is properly utilized.
You say there is an advantage here, and you say if, and if is a very key word. There is a disconnect here.
A very good question, There is no border for investment and capital. It travels wherever there is better profit margin and stability. And we have to create a better enabling environment for the business operators. If I'm a farmer, my job must be to produce. So if there are bureaucratic challenges, and in Ethiopia we have some bureaucratic challenges in which we need to address, if that is the case, I think we can attract lots of investment, and we have to address also the security issues. So creating a better enabling or conducive environment is quite critical. At the same time, ensuring stability is quite critical. If that is the case, nature has provided Ethiopia, it has blessed Ethiopia. We are sleeping deep on the ample opportunities in the country.
We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's talk about a few things in your sector. Let's go back to the farms, flowers, and and the other large-scale farms whose products are destined for export. Your industry has been accused for a number of malpractices in the years past. One of them would be concerning the environmental issues, and the others, pollution of the rivers and the waters, and so on and so forth. Have you addressed those concerns?
Well, I think there were lots of misperceptions as well as some malpractices in the past. I think the industry has taken quite proactive measures with the involvement of the association. So one of the blames regarding the industry was the irresponsible disposal of liquid waste. Now we call it used water, because as far as you treat waste, as far as you treat water, it cannot be waste. It can be used water. So cognizant of this issue, we're executing a number of projects so as to treat used water treatment. So in line with that, we have managed to build nearly 43 used water treatment plants. So,
are all subscribing to this?
Of course, in the coming 3 years, all of the farmers are going to put in place used water treatment plants. So in the last 5 years, we have reached 43 used water treatment plants. So in the major clusters, they are not releasing any untreated water to the water bodies. They are trying to use, to reduce, to recycle, and to reuse the treated water, which is a very good development, I would say. And the other blame was about the application of pesticides. So in the association, we have been executing a project called Integrated Pest Management, in which we are trying to promote biodegradable pesticides as well as introducing biological control beneficials or biopesticides. So if you look at the Rift Valley area, more than 70% is under integrated pest management, and the majority of the farms are using also biological control products. This is environmental friendly as well. And the other blame was about the engagement of the farms with regard to the community. So a lot has been improved in terms of their engagement with the community. A number of them are executing sustainability interventions, which are in the best interest of the community, the workers, and the like.
For several years, they were underpaid?
This was the story, but if you draw comparison right now, I don't see that the horticulture sector is the least paying industry. We have been crying loud for the establishment of minimum wage in the country.
Have you succeeded?
A commission established, but still there is no threshold for the minimum wage. But we have taken a proactive measure in terms of setting up what we call it cluster-based minimum wage schemes as an industry. So we are involved. The Federation for Agriculture Trade Unions is involved. Every year we undertake negotiations. This is implemented in Zewdie in the last 5 years, in Koka, in Debre Zeit, in Sandaf as well. So some clusters are remaining out of this scheme, but it's moving in the right direction.
But can't you enforce those?
Not yet, because Ethiopia has not yet put in place the minimum wage.
But you can always take the lead.
This is what we are doing. Yeah, we put in place cluster-based minimum wage schemes, and we are trying to take that into a sectoral wage scheme. So,
how about child labor? There were some issues in regards to that.
Well, we have a code of practice with 3 tiers, with the bronze, with the silver, and with the gold level standard. This code of practice is benchmarked with international standards, and it's developed with the participation of a multitude of stakeholders. So one of the issues is also child labor issues in the parameter, and farmers are audited throughout the year. So in the majority of the farms, you don't find child labor. And in some of the farms, you can see, workers that may look child, but usually, their IDs is more than 18 years of age. We have tried to cross-check with some local governments in this aspect as well. They come up with an ID that describes that they are 18 years and more than that.
There's always ways of identifying those.
We are trying to the extent possible. It's not only our code of practice. There are different standards, like fair trade and others also. A number of
the importers require that too.
Exactly. So farmers are audited accordingly.
Let's have a look at the challenges. You earlier said the bureaucracy is somehow an issue here.
If I talk of the challenge, I can talk a lot. But at the same time, there are also lots of opportunities. But if I start with, a number of companies, they have established their names in the market. So now they have the capital as well. And they have also the knowledge of the agronomy, the marketing, and the like. They want to expand. So accessing land is a critical issue in this country. So I would like to call upon the government to take this into consideration, because if you look out the challenge of the country, Forex is a critical challenge in Ethiopia. So the horticulture sector can address that one. Unemployment and underemployment is a critical challenge. So horticulture is labor intensive, so it can absorb hundreds of thousands of youth of the country. So because of the challenge of accessing land, some of the existing investors are moving to Kenya as well and to other countries as well. So it takes quite an extended period of time to access land. So I think now the government is looking into it, but it requires an expedited decision. So
why would that be a problem now?
It takes time, So my recommendation would be, we need to have a sort of hortipark on the basis of feasibility studies. Areas need to be identified with the right infrastructure. So the second challenge is the Forex, for example. So farmers are allowed only to utilize 20% of their sales proceeds. So this is not enough for them. So we are engaging with the concerned officials to have better allocation of Forex for it.
What would be the optimum one?
So we are proposing at least 30%. That will help them to better function. Because if there is lack of Forex, it's difficult to have inputs, and it's also quite difficult to access capital goods for their activities. So this is the second challenge. The third one is access to inputs. So because of the forex challenge in the country, again, you don't find enough inputs in the country. So this has to be improved. And coming to the bureaucratic challenge, I think it's all about competition. Some of the competitor countries, they do have better and robust bureaucratic support schemes, automated schemes. So we have to take that into consideration. It's not only a farm competing with another farm, it's competing with the overall infrastructure and capacity of the country. So these are the critical challenges. And these days also security is another challenge in some of the clusters.
How challenging is that?
Well, as I mentioned from the outset, one of the requirements for agricultural investment is security and stability. So in some of the locations, we have this challenge. So groups coming, abducting workers and the like is witnessed. So it needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
So are you having that conversation with relevant government authorities, not necessarily the bureaucracy, security issues and all that?
We have a monthly meeting with a task force comprising different ministries at the Ministry of Agriculture. So some of the problems are addressed in that task force meeting, and some are remain to be addressed.
You seem to be better placed because some people say, and these are well-informed people, that your association is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in this country. That's why you have so much to access in terms of number of other resources.
Well, we are business membership organizations, so our role is to protect and defend the interest of our members. At the same time, we have to promote responsible business in the country. That's why it's not a matter of option to become a very strong advocacy or lobby institution. That is a cardinal job of the association. For any BMO, advocacy is the cardinal intervention. So we try to create a better environment. We are quite proactive in our engagement in terms of undertaking evidence-based policy advocacy. So we can request amendment of policy or formulation of any policy as far as it has got value addition to the country and to the members of the association.
Let me take your word. Advocacy.
Yeah.
Are you successful in your advocacy work?
Of course, in many of the issues, in our request of amendment to the government, many of the issues are entertained by the government as well. So it depends on, you need to have the facts and the figures to present to the decision makers. So that's an area where our association is quite very strong. And look at the horticulture sector, it's the second largest forex earner to the country. And directly and indirectly, nearly 200,000 people are benefiting out of the horticulture export industry. These are good stories to the government as well. So agriculture also is a priority to the government. And horticulture is also a priority as it is forex earner as well as in terms of job creation also is contributing a lot to the country.
So given the constraints, what is the future like for your sector?
For me, the future is horticulture for Ethiopia. It will take us some time to be competitive in the manufacturing industry. That's my personal conviction. But as far as horticulture is concerned, it's the future of Ethiopia. And it's possible to generate billions out of the horticulture industry if I draw comparison on the competitive and comparative advantage of Ethiopia. For that to happen, there must be proactively structured frameworks to support the sector operators. At the same time, there must be, I would say, a platform for the public, for the private sector, for the academic and research institutions to work together so as to create and reinforce the horticulture export industry. If that is the case, Ethiopia can become a leading producer of fruits and vegetables in the global market arena as well.
Tewodros Zewdie, it was a pleasure having you on my show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.